Warsan. Warsan. Goodman.
Present.
Khan.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice President Jenkins.
Here.
President Bender. President Bender.
Let the reflect that we here.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Okay. Thank you, Casey. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Colleagues, the focus of this emergency meeting is the public health emergency that was created by COVID-19. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Under the law for remote meetings, every vote must be conducted by a roll call. So I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on adoption of our agenda.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Gordon.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Kano.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Bender.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries and the agenda is adopted. Under the order of resolutions, we have the draft resolution to ratify the declared state of a local public health emergency issued by Mayor Fry this past Monday, March 16th. Before we turn to the resolution before us, I'd like to offer a few brief comments about how things have gone over the past week. First, I really want to thank Mayor Fry for your leadership during this time and your partnership with all of us. You've worked closely with myself and Council Vice President to quickly take the action needed to respond to this crisis, but also to work with us to set up the important transparency pieces that will be needed to go forward so that members of the public can track what we're working on and be involved. I think we have struck an important balance of responding very quickly, but also leading with compassion and continuing to center race equity and really focus our energies on the people and businesses who need us the most. It has been really extraordinary to see our community come together. The leadership that we see from Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is, I think, beyond compare as they really work to get all of the health pieces in place, as well as work to bring supports that are needed to our communities around the state. We've been working closely with the county, with the school board and the school district, as we all work, again, very quickly in unprecedented times to respond. So I just, again, want to thank each of you for stepping up into leadership and doing so in a way that really strengthens our partnership together. And it will be more important as the days and weeks go by. So I just think that we are so lucky to have this team of people at the city. The staff and department heads have been incredible in coming to work and getting things set up. We are shifting our entire workforce in a very quick period of time. And so our top priority is to continue to serve our community, but also make sure our workers are supported and protected. And so thank you all again for your commitments to all of those goals all at the same time. So I do want to just note too, before turning it over to the clerk, that this emergency declaration is a pretty big shift of our local government structure. So I've worked with each of you to rethink how we might move forward as a council as we're meeting virtually, as we are functioning under an emergency declaration that gives Mayor Fry authority over our response to COVID-19 and to ensure that those public checks and balances are in place. So appreciate so much everyone's work on that. And again, the partnership of the mayor in his commitment to be working so quickly to respond, but also work in partnership with all of us. Mr. Clerk, could you please summarize the content of the draft resolution so that we all understand the intent of the resolution and are able to share with the public the effect of it if it is adopted today?
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. As noted, on Monday, Mayor Fry proclaimed a state of local public health emergency due to the novel coronavirus disease, or COVID-19, consistent with the city's Code of Ordinances, Section 128.50. That emergency declaration was initially effective for a period of 72 hours, after which the City Council must convene to consider whether or not to ratify the declaration. The code provides that the council may either ratify the mayor's emergency declaration or, if not, the emergency declaration terminates. The resolution before you includes a series of 14 recitals, each of which begin with the word "whereas," which establish the context for the emergency declaration. About halfway down the second page, you'll find the resolving clause, which presents the actions to be taken by the City Council. First, if adopted, this resolution ratifies the state of local public health emergency that was declared this past Monday, March 16th. And again, the reasonings for ratifying that declaration are included in the recitals. Second, the resolution extends the period of the local public health emergency to run coterminous with the statewide peacetime emergency that was declared by Governor Walz under Executive Order 20-04. For practical purposes, that means that there is no identified end date for the emergency period. Instead, it would continue to exist as long as the same emergency period exists for the state of Minnesota, which allows the city to avail itself of federal and state resources that may be or which may become available as a result of this public health emergency. Nevertheless, it remains true that the City Council may, by its own action, terminate that emergency at any point. Third, the resolution ratifies, adopts, and extends through the emergency period to the degree that such action is required or advisable the emergency regulations that have already been issued by the mayor since Monday. Thus far, the mayor has issued a total of 5 emergency regulations, each of which have been posted to the city's website and to the official bulletin boards located outside of the council and clerk offices at City Hall. If and as necessary, those regulations may also be renewed by the mayor. And again, the City Council retains the authority by its own action to extend or terminate those regulations. Finally, if adopted, the city clerk is directed to publish and post this resolution, including to the city's website and to official bulletin boards and other manners, in order to give broad publicity to the effect of ratifying and extending the declared state of local public emergency in the city of Minneapolis. Madam President, that completes my summary of the draft resolution before the council.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And I would just like to restate for the record that we have been joined by all 13 members of the Minneapolis City Council, as well as Mayor Fry. So I will see if there are any questions from council members about the resolution that the clerk has just described. And again, you can type into the chat feature. Just put your name in queue and I will call on anyone who may have questions or comments on the resolution. I don't see any questions. I'll just check one last time. And if it's not working to chat, you can always unmute and just speak. With that, I will see, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
That has been moved and seconded. So I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the adoption of the resolution ratifying the state of local public health emergency.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Gordon.
Aye.
Kano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Warsami, Warsami, Cunningham,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Goodman,
Aye.
President Bender.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries, so the resolution is adopted and the state of local public health emergency is extended. We do have a second resolution on which was sent out to all council members as part of the packet. And this is something that a number of council members worked on, and Councilmember Cunningham was willing to step up and help guide this and lead it in coordination with council members who work together to put together a resolution that is a statement of the city council's goals and values. I will describe this for all of you. Again, it's in your packets, but also for members of the public. So this reflects the fact that we've just adopted and extended the public health resolution and talks about some of the legal context for that resolution, as well as our authority as the city council, which would be to end the public health emergency at any time with the vote of the city council. It reflects the fact that Mayor Fry has established a policy group made up of himself, the council president, and the council vice president to help guide our city's response to the public health emergency. And again, we really appreciate that coordination and collaboration from the mayor. It also recognizes that we will be in a time where both will have financial impact as a city, as well as increased needs in our community. And we'll need to balance those two factors going forward. The resolution talks about our commitment for prioritizing the health and well-being of all of our residents, especially those residents who are most vulnerable to health impacts of COVID-19. And it expresses our policy intent to evaluate any order authorizing involuntary restrictions on civil liberties. It's about our request and our own prioritization to center race equity in all aspects of the city's COVID-19 response and our mitigation efforts, and to analyze the implications of actions taken during this local public health emergency through a race equity impact analysis. It requests from the mayor that he consider the following actions in collaboration with the city council, including prioritization of culturally and linguistically appropriate outreach materials for non-English speaking residents and businesses, policy actions within the city's authority to support housing stability, including a moratorium on evictions and continued water and utility access, local regulatory actions that support small businesses and their workers, and prioritization of city funds for gaps left in federal, state, county, and philanthropic efforts that focus our health supports for populations without access to public hygiene, such as hand washing stations, and supports for residents and businesses most vulnerable to the economic impacts, especially those who are not covered by the efforts of other partners. It asks that the mayor consider actions that emphasize the following principles: support and encourage city staff in complying with current public health guidelines that limit the spread of COVID-19, encourage city staff to care for themselves or family members who are or may be ill, recognize the additional responsibilities of our first responders and other critical employees that are not able to work remotely because of the nature of their work, and provide options for city staff and contractors to take days off to meet their individual situations, especially in the case of hourly, new, and temporary workers. It requests that the mayor follow personal protective equipment priority guidelines established by the Minneapolis Department of Health and goes into detail about those. And it requests that the mayor's office provide reports at the regular meeting of the city council on actions taken under the declaration. And again, that is both for the benefit of city council members to receive updates, but also an important transparency commitment that we have made together for members of the public to be able to track all of the things that are happening as we respond to COVID-19 together. So again, this was done in collaboration with Mayor Fry, Council Vice President Jenkins, and many council members. And it's just a way for us at this time where the City Council is extending under the public health emergency authority to the mayor to lead our response. And so I appreciate very much that we took the time now to make these commitments clear. We have many other times stated our public commitment to centering race equity and focusing resources on those who are most in need, but this reiterated that commitment during this time of crisis in our city where it is even more important than ever. So I will pause and see if anyone else would like to comment or has any questions about this resolution on the COVID-19 emergency declaration. Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank all of my colleagues for collaboration and feedback on this. It was very helpful for us to be able to work together to be able to articulate cohesively what our values are and principles as a legislative body, and very grateful to Mayor Fry and his leadership during this very challenging time. I also want to make sure to thank the Seattle City Council for modeling this resolution, and so thank you all for being a part of this conversation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say how grateful I am to be a part of this team, to be a part of this council in these most trying times that the world has faced in recent history. And I'm really, as a member of the policy group, I'm really committed to ensuring that that we follow the goals and intentions laid out in this resolution, as well as just consistently centering race equity in all of the decisions that we make. And to that end, we will be coming forward with a modified race equity impact assessment that really helps our leaders and department heads and everyone consider the race equity impacts as we make these really important decisions to bring stability, safety, and hopefully economic resources to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kano.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm hoping folks can hear me. I just wanted to say that it's been sort of a whirlwind here because about a week ago, I was able to attend the National League of Cities conference where the topic of COVID-19 was discussed daily. Almost every workshop there talked about the issue, and we even had a briefing from Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, as well as some of the top leadership within the CDC. And I'll say that I heard from council members in places like San Antonio that they were being essentially asked to host many of the people who were on the cruise ships, and we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people. So I know that cities across the country are really grappling in many different ways to try to figure out how to respond and how to be there for their community during this time of uncertainty on so many levels, because we just don't have a lot of information about what the oncoming challenges are going to be. However, I'll say that this resolution to me shows us that we have been really fierce about making sure that we anticipate some of those big challenges, and we have been connected to people in our districts and in our wards to make sure that those concerns and those questions that we're getting from folks about where are the families from Minneapolis Public Schools going to get their rent supports? Where are those families who are working the low wage jobs and the gig economy jobs in our community going to go for support? And so I think that this resolution really captures the prioritization of those populations that might be left behind by certain wide community safety benefits, such as unemployment insurance and some other benefits that we know the state and the county can provide. And so I'm hoping that folks on the council can hear my intent in that as we get into this conversation and these times evolve, that my hope is really for us to be able to step up at whatever level we can for those communities who are going to be falling through the cracks. So thank you to all of our leadership, to the mayor for making this declaration, for our council president's time and our council vice president's time, to our city clerk's office, our IT department, and so many of the other department heads who have stepped up during this really difficult time to make sure that our community and our residents can feel the confidence and the trust in their local government to be there with them and for them throughout the next weeks and months and hopefully not years. But thank you all for your leadership on this, and I wholeheartedly support this resolution.
Thank you. Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam President. I apologize for speaking twice. I just wanted to add that as the chair of the Public Health Committee and as well as a council member representing the North Side, I intimately understand how cultural communities, particularly residents and families with low incomes, are most impacted because of being vulnerable due to health impacts of environmental injustices and just generally being left behind during large-scale emergencies to suffer the most. So particularly in a time of crisis, we must continue to center the City of Minneapolis's commitment to race equity to ensure our city's most vulnerable residents, families, and business owners have their needs met as we face this COVID-19 pandemic together as a city. So I ask for my colleagues to please support this resolution, and with that, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Warsami.
Hello, can you hear me now? Can you hear? Yep. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Go ahead.
So thank you, Council President. I want to be recorded that I was present and also voted for every resolution and every other vote. I couldn't figure out my microphone. And I want to thank the mayor and all my colleagues for this state of emergency. And I want to there are a couple of issues that I've in passing discussed with Councilmember Cano as well with regards to outreach to communities of color and immigrant communities. There are still a number of our residents that are meeting up and going to coffee shops. I know I've heard that the Carmel Mall might have closed today, but we do need to close those spaces because they could be incubators of this disease right now. A lot of folks were not taking it seriously in the community. Especially the elderly. Up to yesterday, some of the adult daycare centers were open. We know right now that some of the daycare centers are open across the city, especially the child daycare centers. So I think we have to somehow take this seriously and make sure that we have the instruments to make sure that we close down these child daycare centers and daycare centers.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? I don't see any other council members in queue. I'll just pause one last time to make sure. Okay, with that, I will move the resolution so it is in front of us. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Palmisano,
Items are back in full effect.
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
They're a little wet.
Hannah,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Jenkins,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Warsami,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Goodman,
Aye.
President Bender.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the resolution is adopted. At this time, I'd like to ask Mayor Fry if he wants to speak now.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for your continued leadership. Thank you for your continued partnership from the very commencement of this issue, and your really true willingness to step up for our city and for the communities, to structure the council to gain efficiencies. I can't tell you how much that means to me. And I know that partnership between you and I, between the mayor's office and the city council, it will be of paramount importance as we go forward. And it's striking that given the gravity of this matter, I'm perhaps more struck individually by the importance of this speech, and I'm giving it to an empty room with nobody in it. And I'm humbled by the trust you all have placed in me and the way our city has collectively risen to meet this moment. As we continue grappling with the threat from COVID-19, our ability to respond quickly has been and will be vital. None of the actions we've taken have been taken lightly, but they are demanded of us in this crisis. We're no longer living in a world where our decisions are measured only against dollars and cents. We are weighing these decisions against lives saved and lives lost. I know I'll be leaning on all of you in the days and weeks and months ahead for support, and I hope you all know that you can lean on me. Our top priority must be protecting the public health and safety of all Minneapolis residents. This is perhaps the greatest challenge to our city in generations, and I'm so proud to be meeting that challenge on a team with each and every one of you. Again, I'm grateful to you all, and I can find a measure of comfort knowing we are all in this fight together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I will now recognize the clerk for the next
Thank you,
action.
Madam President. There's one last item of business I would ask for your direction on. I don't need a vote, but I'm assuming that as President, you'll concur. I'd like your direction to have the clerk add to the official record of these proceedings the mayor's original declaration of a local public health emergency and all of the emergency regulations already issued to date.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and to all of my colleagues. Thank you to Mayor Fry. This concludes the agenda items that we have. We have the order of announcements next. I do want to talk through some of the changes that we are working on in the city council structure for the benefit of public transit. Also see if anyone else has any announcements to make before we adjourn. So as all of you know, I've talked with each of you about some potential changes in our own structure and operations as we adapt to governing under both the emergency declaration and in this virtual environment. I know that we collectively share a commitment to the public that we keep city business running, that we protect and support our workers, and that we engage the public in a way that is both meaningful but recognizes the limitations of the current public health guidelines around social distancing. So we will be working to strike a balance that keeps city services going and allows people to contribute and give us feedback, but also recognizes the challenges of making big decisions outside of the COVID-19 response during this time. So in order to accommodate some of these shifts, I will be bringing forward at the next regular city council meeting next Friday, a resolution to restructure the city council temporarily under the emergency declaration. It would, for a while, it would pause many of the typical standing committees of the city council. It would shift us to meeting weekly as a full city council during our normal time on Fridays, but instead of every other Friday, we would add a city council meeting each week to go through the emergency actions taken, as well as to facilitate normal city business. We would have a business inspections and zoning committee chaired by Councilmember Goodman and vice chaired by Schrader to allow us to continue with any sort of business licensing or quasi-judicial or inspections related items. And there are a number of council members who volunteered to be part of that committee who are currently on the committees that deal with quasi-judicial and regulatory functions. And we appreciate that so much from each of you. There would then be a policy and governance committee that would meet also weekly ahead of the city council meeting that I would chair along with Council Vice President Jenkins. This would allow us to continue all of the other city business that needs approval by the city council. It would have a race equity subcommittee chaired by Council Vice President Jenkins to ensure that as we move forward under a crisis and an emergency, we are continuing to center race equity in all of our work and to keep that important work going front and center. And then it would include a subcommittee chaired by Councilmember Fletcher, as our Ways and Means Chair is transitioning off the City Council, likely pending approval by the full City Council next Friday to take the helm of the Public Housing Authority. So the Vice Chair will be assuming that role to help us navigate the standing Ways and Means items and to bring forward any finance items that need council approval. So I've talked with each of you about this. I appreciate so much all of your teamwork. That council structure does not reflect all of the leadership that is happening by each of the existing committee chairs, by council members with special expertise in particular areas, by each of you as you advocate for your own communities in your wards and in the relationships that you have with stakeholders and populations in our city. Going forward, we may think about ways to formalize some of that work beyond this more simple council structure. But for now, know that each of you we will continue to lean on each of your leadership in each of the areas of expertise that you have. And you have my commitment to engage with each of you, to help support you, to work together to prioritize the ongoing work of our departments and to adapt to this evolving structure of our government. So again, I just wanted to go through that in the interest of transparency before it comes forward to the City Council next week. And again, appreciate so much all of the partnership here. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll speak slowly because I'm here on the dais, but I just wanted to say before we ended a couple quick words of appreciation and thanks for both our communications team and also our clerk's office, who have worked many, many days to enable this first virtual meeting of our City Council. It truly is historic. It is important, and despite some of our frustrations in getting started here on the dais, we are deeply appreciative as the communications team's work is ever more important as to how we continue to communicate as a city, as a body, and all of those things. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further announcements from council members? I don't see any. So just one final thank you to everyone in our community who is stepping up right now. A deep and heartfelt thank you to all of our city employees who are providing so much leadership and support right now. We are working tirelessly to support you and protect your health. Thank you to everyone who is providing services, whether it be in a formal role or helping out your neighbors through this time. We're in this together. And I think in this extraordinary time, we have come together with extraordinary collaboration. I'm really proud to be part of this team, as so many others have said. One last check for anything further. Seeing none, we have concluded our agenda for this special emergency meeting with no further business before us. I'll submit a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
And
moved.
Second.
that has been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon. Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Kano.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Losami.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Goodman. President Bender.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Stay healthy, everyone.
Thanks. It's good to see you guys.
You too.